United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I don't have any changes to the order of business, so we'll move right on to communication to the board and public comment. I did not get any communication. I don't know if anyone else did. You didn't have anything? Okay. No communication to the board, so we will open it up for public comment if anyone wants to speak. Nobody? Come on. All right, that means, oh, go ahead.
But I'm not prepared.
That's okay. You don't have to be prepared.
Don't make us stand here.
I'm not writing.
Just
Colleen
state your,
writes.
just state your name and address, please.
My name is Laura Fritz. My address is 64 Holcomb Hill Road in Hartford.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to advocate for the staff and students of New Hartford Public Schools, and particularly New Hartford Elementary. I know that it was on the agenda, and I know you guys are all going to provide an update very quickly on what's going to happen with the current first grade class. But I just ask that when decisions like this are made, that the people that it truly impacts are spoken to and listened to and heard first. My daughter is absolutely in love with her school. She's in love with her teachers. Every single day she comes home and gets to see a whole school day played out. Some teachers have seen the videos of that, and I get to see them having their good days and their bad days. That's not for any other reason other than the quality of education and the teaching and the patience that goes into her and her classmates that contributes to her thirst and passion to be there. To hear that there will be a cut in the class. I understand that everybody's a decision to make, and I'm so sorry that all of you were placed in this position by the Board of Finance to have to put this. Somebody has to hurt as a result of it. But these kids need more support than what any of you can understand. Whether they're all academically there, they need social help. These kids were brought into school right at the very start of the pandemic. And as my child, to kind of muddle with that now, I don't want it to hinder her school education. I also ask that you take into consideration the teachers who will then be placed in classrooms with an overabundance of children. When you make that decision, go ask them 3 months from now how they're feeling and how they're doing, and how they truly believe the quality of education they are given matches what they did last year with 5 kids less in the class. It truly impacts our children, and it truly impacts the school, whether they be a young age and people think they can handle it. This is the time where we need the most support. So whatever decision you guys choose to make, that is fine, but I ask that going forward, the right channels are done and the proper research is carried out before decisions like this are passed through the board.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to talk about anything?
Just state your name and address.
Hartford, 495 Town Hill Road.
Thank you.
The Google surveys are awesome and super helpful, but I think they could be more thorough. I think that sometimes they're misleading or misunderstood. And as a parent who wants a thorough ability to answer the questions you're asking, I think it'd be great if there's maybe a little bit more detail in sentencing or in structure of the Google surveys. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Everyone good? All right. So we'll close public comment. Thank you. Thank you for coming and your comments as well. So my chair report. So I just wanted to go over, and I emailed all of you how I'd like to move forward with board meetings, just the process. And I'll just go over them now quickly. And this is really just meant so that we can be more efficient with our time and hopefully avoid any back and forth. I don't want to say arguments, but arguments or discussions that kind of veer off course. So each board member will be permitted 2 minutes to speak. The board chair will call your name, will turn on your microphone, share your thoughts, and then turn off your microphone. One board member will speak at a time with no debating or interrupting. If additional time is needed for you to speak, it will be requested by raising your hand, and the board chair will call on you, turn on your microphone and speak, and then turn it off. And then for voting, we will basically do a roll call. So we'll go around when we have a motion. I'll ask that we go around in order, state your opinion if you need to speak about it, and then we will also go around and vote, maybe at the same time if you're ready to vote. So any questions on the new process? Travis? No, I'm in charge of the meeting, so it's my rules. Yep. Anything else? Okay. That being said, we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Carl. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our June Board of Education meeting. Before I begin, I want to publicly thank all of our educators, our staff, every single worker that has a hand in the education of our students. It is our last Board of Education meeting for this school year. And as always, our focus should always be on kids. And to do that, we want to highlight some special things that they've been up to. Grade 4 went over to the Noah Webster House in New Hartford. They learned how to card wool. They also saw how sewing was done. They learned to write with quill pens, and they also churned butter, and they also learned to cook on a hearth. So when asking students, so what did you really learn about, the times, one of the students even said the ancient times, it really wasn't ancient, but the olden days, they said it was quote unquote rough. Very rough. So they're very, very fortunate. They understand a lot of the great things they don't take for granted, especially going back in time to see what life was like for children and for adults and for a society by visiting the Noah Webster House. Also a funny note, they did not particularly know that Noah Webster and the dictionary was connected, so it was a great opportunity to connect that knowledge as well. Reader's Theater in Mrs. Underwood's class in 3rd grade. Reader's Theater is a great opportunity for students to become participants in their reading. It affords them the opportunity to increase their reading fluency and just to have fun and participate and engage different inflections in their voices, pretend to be different characters and become theatrical. So here's a quick little snapshot of the kids performing in Reader's Theater in 3rd grade. 6th grade White Memorial Trip. This just is an incredible trip that our 6th grade teachers take the time to stay over with our 6th grade friends for a couple of nights at 6th grade at the White Memorial. And they do a lot of community building. They do a lot of exploration. They learn a lot about the surrounding area and a lot about Connecticut too. Not just how trees grow, but what habitats are what and why they exist. Students are involved in journaling and writing. They experience nighttime hikes. They experience great games like Human Hungry Hippos. I challenged the board. Maybe we could play that one time. But it looks phenomenal. It's so awesome. So Mrs. Stapleton, Miss Bates, and Miss Priest do an amazing job with the kids, as well as additional support that goes, and our nurses, just to make sure our kids are safe. They even have family dinner. So they have different jobs and responsibilities. At first they may think, oh, these chores, but at the end they realize how beautiful it is that they're all together. They're helping one another. They're having fun. They're laughing. They're building these awesome memories. I don't know what time they went to bed. I did not ask because they all look bright and bushy-tailed for the next morning's hike, but just a great experience for our 6th grade students. Here's an example of the nature trees that have fallen and these ginormous roots, things that they get to explore and experience. All right, 2nd grade enrichment. This is awesome as well. Talk about getting our friends together from Bakerville and New Hartford. What a great opportunity that we have here in New Hartford Public Schools, where kiddos meet their pen pals. So they've been writing back and forth to one another. I saw that live in Mrs. White's class, came in and the kids were writing pen pal letters back and forth to each other. Such a beautiful sentiment. They're also involved in some great science programming as well. Kindergarten Activity Day was an absolute amazing opportunity for our kiddos that may have the little jitters, maybe a little anxious, maybe a little nervous about coming to school. So they came and participated in some fun games, activities, and they got to meet some of the staff. We took photos of the kiddos. We made it a big to-do welcoming them to kindergarten because it is the first opportunity for them to be with us in a full-day program outside of our preschool. So we welcomed in a lot of our kindergartners, and special thanks to all the staff that was involved in helping our students get here and have such a great first experience. And kickball, why not? Why not? A great day of kickball was organized for kids to learn about good sportsmanship and kindness and cheering one another on and taking care of each other again. So a great opportunity was established. The kiddos played kickball with the staff, and they organized that via our school climate committee, and it was a great day of fun. Hopefully not too many injuries, and a lot of happy hearts. Another great point of pride is our student-driven fundraiser for St. Jude's. Our students raised $920 by making bracelets and selling them to raise money for students that are experiencing a very difficult season in their life with cancer. If you don't know about St. Jude's, it provides support, medical, all paid fully by fundraisers, philanthropic donations, and our own New Hartford students, which is, we're so proud of them. For our Bakerville second graders for raising that much money. Incredible. So that highlights our kid work. I also want to take a moment to highlight a staff member. So it's bittersweet because it's my first year, not even a full first year as a superintendent, and receiving a letter of resignation because of a retirement. So Janet Scully, after teaching for 20 years in New Hartford Public Schools, has announced her retirement to me. She started teaching kindergarten at Bakerville for 5 years. She then moved over to New Hartford and taught kindergarten for 14 more years. Obviously, she adores kindergarten. And she finished off this year by helping the district out tremendously by teaching our preschool program. We are forever indebted to her. I invited Janet because she's a woman that is extremely humble and an educator that is all that she does, but she's a master educator. We are grateful and deeply appreciative of all the years of service for Janet Scully, so we could give her a round of applause and really appreciate that. Thank you, Janet, if you're watching. Let me see, is she there? She's there? All right. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you too much, but thank you, Janet. All right, up next on our agenda, we have our recommendation for our ELA curriculum. Deirdre Tyndall was involved as a board member for our curriculum subcommittee. Parents were also involved, staff were also involved in administration in making the following recommendation. So I'll draw your attention up to the screen behind me. All right. As we've been talking about for many months now, we are aware that our literacy program has areas that are lacking, and we have a great staff that is thirsty and hungry for continuous professional development and getting their hands on materials that will make a better and bigger difference for our students. So we're excited about that. This was a quick review of our curriculum process. We have conducted an analysis and planning for what we would like to do going forward with our new recommendation for a literacy program. So currently we're in the midst of steps 1 and steps 2. We're going to be making that recommendation today to move us to step 3 with implementation next year and the year afterward. So the pieces that are necessary that we felt very strongly knowing about the science of reading are the following. We need to make sure that our program has strong phonemic awareness as a base of phonics. Fluency gives students multiple opportunities to read text over more than one time to become more fluid. Memorization of sight words and such. Also rich vocabulary and opportunities to check in for comprehension, make real world connections, connect to self, connect to text, and connect to others as well. So to do that, we are investing in a knowledge building curriculum. Well, what is that? It is a very deeply designed program that has various fields of science, history, literature, arts, starting all the way back in kindergarten. It's intentionally built that way. This is to engage students in real world readings and real world high engaging and high interest levels topics. So the research tells us that the following are incredibly important to students' reading abilities. It's to coherently build knowledge of words and the world around them. And then the second bullet point is probably my favorite. It's teaching students to read through systematic foundational skills over and over, like those rote skills that we've ventured away from, and have that word recognition to be automatic to help students read more fluently. And then this program that we're going to be recommending also affords every student access to focused, closed communal reading of content-rich, complex text, so it's differentiated for all. Joji, did you want to speak a little bit about the process? Are you good?
That's great.
Okay. Very good. So our recommendation is EL education. The committee had taken a look at CKLA and EL education, but we don't feel that the aforementioned meets our criteria for our students here in New Hartford. EL education, as you can see, there are various bullet points, which are strong pieces of what we are seeking for a new literacy program here in New Hartford. It's got the listing of minutes of instruction at 120 minutes, with K2 having an optional 60-minute lab. We're going to work through all those implementation pieces, years 1 and 2. There's 4 modules per grade level, 3 units in each. It's got, it includes a skills or ALL block, which provides differentiated instruction for all. That's also going to be tied into our building schedule going forward. The topics in science, social studies are related. There's a lot of emphasis on science, which we know is a high engaging area for kiddos. They're always wondering why things happen, how things happen. They want to take things apart, figure out what's going on. And that's a great, great characteristic to have. Every lesson is designed to have students do all of the following: to read, to write, to think, to talk. And others are also, other protocols are also built within that curriculum. Habits of character are embedded, multiple texts, decodable texts are very important for students at different levels. So they have more than one opportunity to read the same level of text. It includes accountable, independent reading as well to build their stamina and have that joy and love of just switching off from where I am and going into my book and just enjoying the story and where I am before I come back to the reality of the school day. Variety of assessments are included, which is critical to finding out how our students are doing more periodically, not just the 3-time assessment throughout the course of the year. And there's a great emphasis on vocabulary and close reading. Some of the other programs may have had some of these elements, but we felt EL had them to a very strong marked degree. And that's why this is our recommendation from the parent subcommittee, the school subcommittee, the board subcommittee, going through the entire process. We also surveyed parents as part of our work, speaking of surveys, and we asked parents what they thought as to help us make this recommendation. And as you can see, if you look at just the blue and the red, 72 responses for how important a structured literacy approach, which is EL education, and how teaching kids how to learn and how to read with systematic and explicit phonics, phonemic awareness instruction, and use of decodable books. 80% plus felt that it was important to very important. Another quick piece of survey information, 73 responses on this, is how important is it for students to have book choice, multiple modes of assessment and learning tasks within the curriculum. Again, very high percentage of parents felt that it was important, and very important in fact. Looking at content-specific topics of the American Revolution, westward expansion, astronomy, Native Indigenous tribes, light and sound, and weather in our ELA curriculum. Again, you'll see that a very high percentage felt that that was important to have those cross-curricular connections. Again, how important is it to integrate STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into reading, into writing? Again, parents felt strongly that it was important as well. And 21st century skills of collaboration, of communication, critical thinking, and creativity, which EL affords our students. Parents, again, felt that that was a very important part of our decision-making process. So what are our next steps? The board is in charge of making that decision to accept the recommendation of the superintendent, and the subcommittees that we've put forth at the EL education program is what we'd like to put forward. The extension for the state of Connecticut, we've already submitted and they've accepted it. So we have the 2 years to put that into place, which is phenomenal. That is still also awaiting legislative approval. So they may extend it another year. We feel very strongly we could do it in 2 years with the skills-based approach coming on the 2-year approach. Sorry for that. And the rollout plan that I kind of discussed a little bit at our last board meeting as well is that we're going to be putting instructional materials, professional development, and communication to families as our top 3 priorities to get that ball rolling and start to look at materials within our professional development calendar, even as this end of this month would come. So we'll start that work immediately pending the acceptance of our recommendation to the Board of Ed. Questions? Yes, Don. Oh, just Mike, please.
Without getting too deep into the weeds, what's the major difference between this proposed program and what we're doing now? It's like broad strokes.
Sure. This one is much more systematically based on letter recognition, word breakdown, all of those basic skills that we want to teach kids over and over again versus the guessing of the word that would be within a context. This is one major difference. This is systematic. It's modularly presented. It follows a certain step and rhythm versus the old program that we were using, which was piecemeal more than anything else. This is much more systematic. And it'll give us assessment and more data and information on a consistent basis rather than our previous that we had. Those are the main thrusts for me. The decodable text, having leveled readers for kiddos so they can feel successful while they're reading. And then if they're not, then we can identify more quickly and more easily to provide support and help for students. This, again, the systematic approach provides just that.
Is it different levels for different?
Yes.
Different grades, there's different skill levels.
Yes.
Different marks for different grades for different levels of comprehension.
And where students are and where they're currently functioning. Yes. So it'll take them from their baseline where they're starting and move them forward with goals set in place.
It can start and work its way through. You can see the progress
Yes.
much more easily.
Yes.
And what's the cost on this?
Cost is we've put aside $100,000 for this program for this upcoming school year. So once I get the final, I'll have a better idea. I'm not going to guess out loud. The professional development piece and all the materials inclusive are probably in the $80,000 to $90,000 with a buffer to see if we need additional professional development, additional materials, or whatever else needs to be purchased, that we have that buffer to do so. We also are expected to receive a grant from the state of Connecticut of $13,000 for this year and $13,000 for next year, which will offset those costs, and we could expend those funds in other places of our curriculum or need within the school district.
Is an offset cost from cost we currently have in the budget, or is this a whole new add?
This was a whole new add-on. This is one of the main drivers of the budget increase.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Carl.
Jeff, I assume this is one of the 5 programs.
It is.
That they recommended.
Yes. Yep. Yes, good question.
So why are we not doing STEAM? Why are we just doing STEM?
Why are we not doing STEAM versus STEM
Yes.
within our ELA program? I don't have an answer for that. We do have components of STEM that we implement with Goodwin College, and
Okay.
we have other components, obviously, that'll be coming through here. And our science is on deck for a curriculum review. So we could take a further look into that as well to see if there are other areas of deficit that we could ascertain there. So if there are no other questions, what I would look for is a motion from the board, a second, and then discussion and a vote.
Anyone want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the ELA curriculum as recommended.
I'll second it.
Does anyone have any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Thought we didn't want to do.
I knew this would be unanimous, so unanimous.
So we will know the cost.
I will gladly provide it.
And
Absolutely.
you think that we'll have enough money in our budget to cover it?
Yes,
Okay.
for sure. Yep,
Just want to make sure with everything else we're doing.
you got it. To the board. All right. I am still up. Still have the floor.
You are.
All right. So the next item up to discuss is our recommendation for the implications of the $90,000 that the Board of Education had to, as was eloquently stated, make a very difficult decision in terms of where to have those savings. So update on enrollment and class section implications right now. After having the opportunity to connect with administration and classroom teachers, interventionists, and parents as well that came to meet with me personally in my office, my recommendation is that our students that are currently in first grade now, they had a very difficult kindergarten year with interruptions that did not afford them the best experience that they could have possibly had in kindergarten. Our interventions, our teams did the best that they possibly could with our students, but kindergarten is, for lack of a better word, a wild card. You don't know fully all of the students that you're going to get, all of the precious needs that each individual needs or has, and they manifest and come out in different ways, whether behaviorally, academically, or socially. Our students that were in kindergarten last year had significant challenges due to the pandemic as well, and we're now seeing them become more realized. After discussing this with a multitude of stakeholders, as I mentioned, my recommendation is to not have the fourth section of kindergarten, but instead to have the fourth section of second grade be put into place to make sure that we continue the success that our first grade students currently are experiencing because they are in 4 sections. Students that have need in that first grade cohort need the support of 4 different sections to spread the wealth, to continue our differentiated instruction for all of those kiddos, but also to make sure that they continue to experience the success that they're having now. So based on my conversations, I would not recommend to consolidate those classrooms into 3, giving the teachers more challenges and more things that could possibly be handled. And the best recommendation that I could possibly make to the board as of right now would be to not have 4 kindergarten sections. And if we need to revisit that because enrollment, we will. And I've talked to the Board of Finance, as I mentioned at our last meeting. So if I need to go back and talk to them, I certainly will. But to make the recommendation going forward that we have our 4 second grade sections going into next year, 2 at New Hartford Elementary and 2 at Bakerville. And thank you to the teachers, thank you to parents, thank you to the administration that came to meet with me and discuss in very, very fine detail. Some is very confidential, which I will not share publicly, but that is my recommendation going forward.
So how many children will be in the kindergarten?
It's below the 60 because 2 kiddos registered, but they were not in New Hartford.
So what, there's 58 children registered?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sorry.
I'm going to make a motion and then we can discuss. So I'll make a motion to add a second grade section for the 2023-24 school year for a total of 4 sections and authorize the superintendent to offset the $90,000 cost of that section by reducing other areas of the 2023-24 budget.
Which would be the K section.
I'm leaving it open.
Up to me. Okay, thank you.
I'll second for discussion.
All right. Kelly, you want to discuss?
I'm just curious, how many?
Put your
Mike,
microphone
please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So how many, I wasn't prepared for you to say that, to take that 4th section away from the kindergarten. How many would that put kindergarten at per class?
19-ish, 18, 19.
18 and a half.
Yeah.
That's high. That's a lot for kindergarten. I feel like,
We did not remove the para would still be there because that was within our budget. So we didn't lose that additional support for kindergarten. And again, if that number decides to creep over that area or that 60 threshold, my second step would be to go to the Board of Finance.
there's no way we can keep that 4th section in kindergarten and add a 4th section in second grade.
I'm not recommending that right now. Second grade has the greater need, the incoming second grade cohort to me, and kindergarten we will address as the school year progresses.
And what was it going to be for, what were at 4 sections, what are the class sizes going to be in second grade?
I believe around 15 average.
Will be 19 and a half in kindergarten.
I don't know. I just feel like
So I'm gonna-
you took it away from kindergarten and gave it to.
Can I just speak for a second?
Yep.
I made my motion very general, not taking away that kindergarten section.
Okay.
I was just thinking that if depending on what happens with the kindergarten class, number one. And number two, things change, we just had a retirement. If something else changes within the district or Jeff, uncovers some pile of money that Brian left under the couch, we might be able to change some things. So I thought it'd be best to leave it open for Jeff to try to figure that out before, before the school year, and obviously talk to us about what he would recommend along the way. Travis?
No, I'm good.
I'm going to say again that, with the 58 students in kindergarten, right? Again, I'm going to trust your research and opinion on second grade. Sounds like it's the right thing to do, but if we get an influx, even 2 to 4 kids in kindergarten, I think that the motion makes sense that we need to find the funds. Going to the Board of Finance, I think, where I would look is with the retirement and then with the emergency repairs, right? We talked about that before. If we go to them with a one-time expense for emergency repairs out of the $100,000 that's put away, it makes more sense. Again, with this is going to be almost a recurring expense for staff. So I support the motion.
I don't really have anything to add to what Tim said and others. I agree. I'm concerned about the kindergarten, but the way the motion was made, I think that's the right approach. So it leaves it open. So that's not necessarily where the cut would be made.
Penny?
I don't know. I'm just, like I just said, I'm concerned. I mean, I agree with everybody else. 19 and a half children in kindergarten with a teacher and a para is a lot of children. And if usually we get over the summer, at least another 2 to 4 children, they're not kids, that come in. It's just too many, I think, for them to handle. We have that $100,000 that we can use at least for this year. And then you can really scrutinize the budget for the following year. I realize you came into this budget, it wasn't yours, really, that we're working with what the next one is. Maybe the following year we can find some extra money someplace. We also have that money that you had earmarked that we could use for school resource officer. I mean, we could use that. If we could use it for a school resource officer, we can use it for a teacher instead. That's all.
Second grade has how many? 60 some odd, or what's the number? Well, no, it'll have 4 sections, but what's the total?
It'll be 15 per class if you have sections.
Oh, I know, but is it 60, 62, 63?
$61.
61? Okay. That's all I have. I just want to know what the number was.
I feel exactly the same way as Penny and a couple of the other people. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to have a kindergarten size class that big. So the way you have the motion obviously makes clear sense, but I wouldn't like to see us just push this off. It seems like we do that a lot, just push it off till next month or till when we have to. I don't understand why we can't just say here now, we're gonna have 4 sections in kindergarten and 4 sections in second grade. But as to Carl's motion, yes.
I mean, I would expect Jeff to come back to us, and you're right. I mean, we could make that decision now, but I'd rather leave it to him. And as things progress over the summer and enrollment changes, maybe, maybe we'll be in good shape or maybe we won't.
Is there harm in just taking care of a problem before it happens? Or next problem?
Well, I think we're committed to making sure it doesn't become a problem one way or another. Unless we're up against a wall, but we can talk about it at that time. All right, any other discussion?
Could you read the motion again, please?
Sure. Motion to add a second grade, yes, motion to add a second grade section for the 23-24 school year for a total of 4 sections, and authorize the superintendent to offset the $90,000 cost of that section by reducing other areas of the 23-24 budget.
As far as, I'm sorry, as far as the reduction goes, that you just kind of pick what. Is that 90 from that? That's how you're taking it from?
That's why, yeah, the motion is made in general like that so that I have the flexibility to do so. Yes.
Just let us know where you're taking that from.
I believe you have to do line item transfers.
We'll do it. We'll do.
All right, well, ready to vote? Kelly? Vote? Want me to start on this end?
Yes.
Travis?
I mean, the vote is to add the second grade 4th section, right?
Correct.
And didn't we already add a 4th section for kindergarten, all right?
We did not vote.
We didn't
To-
vote that extra
The
section.
vote was to remove the
The
second grade section.
second.
I looked at the motion, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, Travis is a yes. Tom?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Unanimous. All right, thank you.
All right, couple other points real quickly on my superintendent's report. Number one is I wanted clarification of CJR. I was listening to the Board of Education last time I spoke, and I had mentioned that CJR was only providing support for special ed, or it may have come across that way. That is absolutely not the case. CJR provides support for all, not solely special education. And to wrap up my superintendent's report, I also want to invite everybody, please come to our art show here at Antolini in the multipurpose room from 3:30 to 6:30. That will take place on June the 8th, 2023. Huge shout out to Mrs. Savage for putting all the pieces together. That takes so long, long time. And any volunteers, thank you so much for helping out. But please come and applaud our students, celebrate them, and be part of the art show celebration this Thursday. That concludes my superintendent's report. All right. In our line item transfers, you could see that we received a tuition check for $9,854.19. That was used to cover overages in the following lines: administrative salaries at a cost of $6,300, administrative assistant salaries at a cost of $3,305, and secretary substitutes at $249.19. So that is where those funds were utilized.
One question,
Please.
when is that tuition ending, or do we not know?
So this agreement ends this fiscal year.
This year.
This is the final.
Okay,
And if that is going to be pursued, we would need to hold executive session early in the August timeframe.
for next year.
Yeah, but I'm in contact with the family all of the time. So
Okay.
they've been phenomenal.
So can I ask why there are overages in the admin salaries?
So this was a budget that, again, I inherited, and
Right.
these pieces, once I was calculated out with the rest of my team for the financial and fiscal assistant, Amy Norton, and the team, there were overages in these areas for what was projected to be the budget was overspent through either contract signings or overtime with the administrative assistants, or people were hired at a different rate than was projected at this differential. The substitute line was something that was just not projected fully. You can never really get it exactly to where we want it to be. But these are bringing these, if you look back at the exact expenditure report, these are attempting to bring these back up closer to zero instead of being a negative number toward the end of the year as well.
So does that admin salary include the,
3 administrators in the district.
no, the raises that some members of your office received? Is that included in these?
Nope, this is separate.
Overages?
This is separate.
Okay.
No.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And to your point, does that carry us into the
The end of the fiscal
the end of
year?
the fiscal year? Yes, that was my question.
If I look back at the expenditure report, it
further.
brings us closer to finalize or balancing those exact lines is what it would do, such as teacher salaries. You'll see in the expenditure report, still an under by 12,647. It was just an under projected area. So we'll use savings in healthcare line or somewhere else to backfill that. These 2 lines or these 3 lines were utilized with this tuition check specifically to bring these numbers back up to zero, closer to zero. Just trying to clean up the books for the end of the year.
So then will we have more line item transfers for these lines to close out this fiscal year?
We may have a couple more, not too many more, I don't believe.
Okay. Do you need a motion?
Any other discussion? Yeah, make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept these line item transfers for the, do I need to spell it out exactly what we're doing?
No.
As presented.
Second by Tony. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Salaries is spelled.
Thank you.
All right, approval of the minutes. Anyone want to discuss the minutes, or can we have a motion? Sorry? Sure.
Turn your mic on.
So last meeting, I asked that we try to get some information and take a look at some of the special ed needs, requests, stuff, that whole debate that we've been having going on. I was just wondering where we're at with any information on that.
So I provided in the narrative in the previous Board of Education email that I sent out to all board members where we were in terms of current needs and where we
Is
are.
that something we can't discuss in public?
No, we can. We can discuss it in public. It was presented up on the screen, so folks had a copy of it and could see it. It's also available on our website. Expenditures, caseloads, and things like that for each individual, and then what student needs are currently, and then expenditure for that. And then the percentage increase on the far
Right,
right.
we
column.
talked about that, and
Yeah.
then, part of our whole debate around this, security / special ed thing, we talked about, we wanted to push some things off till this meeting. I've been pretty clear about saying I feel like there's a need for something, or at least looking further into that piece of our educational needs. So I understand what the recommendation was, the second grade, keeping the 4th section helps that for
Mhm.
sure, but it doesn't seem like we're looking at the whole spectrum from, at least here at Antwerp, from 3rd to 6th. And the caseload that we have right now, what's reasonable, what we can do maybe to improve that. The same questions I've been asking.
Are you talking about special ed in particular?
Yeah, and I asked if maybe Mike Lynch could kind of talk with us about everything that special ed entails, because I feel like a lot of people are under the assumption special ed is just about a disability, and
We could add it to the agenda to have that discussion. Absolutely.
Yeah, could we for next
Sure.
meeting?
For August,
Can you,
yeah.
can you just maybe
Yeah.
shoot Jeff and I an email, like
Sure.
what exactly you want to discuss with the
Okay.
agenda? So we can be prepared. That'd be great.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second by Tony. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. I like it. All right, expenditure report. Can I have a motion to accept the expenditure report?
I'll make a motion that we accept the expenditure report.
Only seconds. Any discussion?
Can I have a meeting with you over the next few days to discuss this expenditure report, Mr. Souza?
Absolutely. Yep. Please connect with Janet Terenzi
Yes, I will.
and she will schedule a time for you and I to sit down.
All those in favor? Unanimous. On to new business. So it looks like we have a new policy we have to look at.
Yep, so the policy subcommittee met on May 31st, and this is a proposed new policy. It's relative to independent educational assessment. Everyone had a copy of this one, right, in their packet? Okay. So the new suggestion of this policy is to ensure that the person that we are contracting for services is qualified and experienced. Also, to ensure that the evaluator works with school staff and has the opportunity to see the student in the school setting. As well as having the report, be sure the reports are completed in a timely manner, ensure cost is reasonable, and it fully explains the procedure. Yep.
Is this a routine process that we're
So
assessed or?
the important aspect of this is that prior to additional educational assessments, if we're requested by a parent at one of our PPT meetings, had guidelines that were very loose and did not provide a path for constant collaboration and working together with the family for desired outcomes of support of the student. So an independent educational assessment usually comes after more than one PPT. We're at the table, we're discussing well in advance. The teachers do an amazing job of contacting parents well in advance, letting them know what are the difficulties we're seeing, not just at parent conference time, sitting down with them together, discussing, putting plans in place for intervention. A student may not be making adequate progress, so we bring the student up to our PPT team. We hold a PPT, we discuss student at a baseline, what their progress is, where they're at, and then we conduct an evaluation. Those evaluations have protocols, they're norm-based, they're standardized. They are then brought forth well in advance. They're sent off to the parents, those full reports that they get. Again, the teachers do a tremendous job, reaching out and saying, if you need any support, or because it's educational jargon, if you need help with that, please don't hesitate, reach out and we'll connect with you and answer any questions that you have well in advance. And we come to the PPT table and results are shared, reports are given and gone over in great detail. From speech language pathology to cognitive assessment of a student to academic performance to OT or PT if necessary. It runs the full gamut. So if we are at an impasse or there's results that a parent or a family may disagree with, they may request an independent educational assessment. Or if they want to do something a little bit deeper into maybe some neuropsychological work to see student performance. Right now, it's very loose. We are making this an important policy where there are specific guidelines, as Mary just went over, that would hold the third party or the contracted service in alignment with what our expectations are to fully meet the needs of our students. So an independent evaluator sometimes does not come to the school and observe the child. We don't feel that's best practice. We want you, if you're going to be partnering with us, come to the school, observe the child, find out what's going on exactly. Not for a minute, Don't just take, one side or the other. Come to the school, see them in their natural environment before making recommendations in a school environment. So this was one of the pieces of the guidelines that we feel strongly that we need for operations for our school district. Sorry, that was a long
No,
answer
that
for.
was perfect. Thank you.
Where do we get this data?
Great question. This guidance came from some surrounding districts that have had this in place so that they have successful outcomes with their parents and with students at the center of the work. So we've modeled this after other districts, and we've also checked in with CABE to make sure that this is in accordance to our policies that we can put first. Yeah, well, it will fully, pending second reading and everything else. Yes, they've seen it.
Any other?
I know with PPTs, there's like specific deadlines you have to be great, all that sort of stuff. Is there a reason why we don't want to try to do that same thing with this one?
We do. Yeah, absolutely. There's a timeline piece in here, and you'll see where after the agency or the evaluation has been conducted, it is a 60-day turnaround, I feel. Yeah, timely written report. Yeah, it's timely written report. The initial is based on the original PPT date, 30-something calendar days afterward. This is in addition to that. This would be beyond PPT 1 or PPT 2. Yeah. So this has a 60-day turnaround. And this will be reviewed every single year for costs, reasonable costs as well, as things fluctuate.
Anything else? All right, so that's our first reading, so we'll move that to the next meeting.
Yes.
We've been reviewed all this stuff.
They do. Yeah, and then they'll officially post it on our website once we've had it made a policy by after the second reading.
All right, moving on to old business, we have second reading on 4 policies, which are not in your packet, but we didn't have any changes last meeting. So it's really just a formality. Mary, if you want to just go through those quickly, like what they were.
So the first one was, policy on minimum duty-free lunch periods for teachers. That will provide, minimum 30 minutes uninterrupted lunch period for teachers and other certified staff.
You want a motion? I make a motion if we accept it.
Just each one. We'll do each one.
I make a motion that we accept the policy on minimum duty-free lunch periods for teachers.
Any
Second.
discussion? I'm sorry, Mary, seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, the next one was the policy on class size. The proposal was to have the ratios for, the pre-K 18:1, grades K through 2, 20:1, and for 3 through 6 grades, the ratio was 25:1.
And the wording on that was recommended, right? Or recommends those ratios.
Pre-K 18:1, K through 2 20:1, and grades 3 through 6 25:1.
An important piece to note here as well is that this language currently exists in the teacher's contract, which it should not. Should be a board policy. Yes, please.
The one was, I forget what it read, because I don't have it obviously, but it was one teacher or one adult. What was the
One full-time educator certified staff,
Yeah,
the one.
so para does not count for that?
So additional support.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the policy on class size.
Any seconds, any other discussion?
So with this change now that we made earlier tonight for grade two, and grade in kindergarten, thank you. Is that going to go against the policy that we just recommended to make?
So the policy itself is it's the board supporting that recommendation. It doesn't mean we have to
Okay,
100% follow it, but that is what we support as a board, the class size maximums.
okay.
Yeah, this also helps us have a better idea for budget projections every single year. Having it as a board policy.
And you having it as a board policy. As far as, I know what you're saying, we're recommending it, but let's follow along with the recommendation, so it doesn't help us at all with.
It could, especially if, again, during the school year, we see that there's need. It's going to be my job to present that.
Did you happen to inquire of the teachers in grades 3 through 6, what they thought about having 25 children in a classroom?
I have not done that.
You think it might be worth asking them?
Sure.
I mean, that's a lot of children. And the way children are these days, not like when I went to school.
No comment from us. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
The 25 children was to be able to make the policy. Recommended number in a policy, I just think it's a little high.
no, I don't disagree necessarily, Penny, but it is, it's right, the contract currently says class size, not to exceed 25, that's what it says, so.
But if these are recommendations, can we recommend that something lower?
The board absolutely has the right to do that.
I'm on the other side.
We are, so we gotta call people.
So let's go around.
I'd love to, recommend the lower class size. 25 doesn't, but, and if it's in your contract at 25, that's fine, let's contract it. But Penny's point of, this is a board policy we're setting forward, and we're a small town. And one of the reasons I want to do is to have smaller class sizes. It seems like some sense to put in a visible number for that, maybe after hearing some feedback. Teachers.
I said what I want to say.
I mean, I support on lower too, if you want the number. But, you know, I mean, teachers. But as a board, that's important.
Do we know what the numbers are right now, Jeff, average for 3 through 6?
They're in
plus?
the 20, 20 or below. If you looked back at the budget proposal that I had. So for last year, for this year upcoming.
No comment.
I think it gives us flexibility, so if it's just a guideline, it's just, we're not committed to anything, so budget wise in future, we have flexibility with it. I would keep it. 26-1 or the ratio.
Like,
I'm always, I'm always for smaller class sizes. But I'd also think it would be wise for us to check and do some research on what other districts have for their class sizes and what their policies read. Just to kind of get an idea of, if we're in the same ballpark, or are we, are we,
We're 2 to 3 students higher in the 3 through 6. It's
Then
usually
what?
About 22 or 23.
in other districts? We're higher?
25 is higher.
There you go.
Well, how many students, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good like that.
How many students do we have in these classes now? Nowhere near 25,
We
right?
don't, no.
Right. So it's kind of I mean, we don't expect an influx anytime soon.
No, but what that does though, that policy, when it reads that way, there's always that you can fall back on that and be like, well, the policy says we can be at 25. If it doesn't state that in writing and we do have it at 22 or 23 kids, then at least, we can hold, somebody to
But
that.
that's my point. We have the flexibility, like the situation we're in now with kindergarten and second grade. It's,
But I think what
Yeah.
we're saying is we don't want that flexibility. We don't want to ever have to exceed a
Well,
certain number.
we don't for the students' sake, but
Mhm.
as a governing body, we kind of, I think that flexibility is good to have, but I mean, well,
I think Mary, when we were meeting, mentioned that the way that it is written provides that. So it says the board agrees that unless it experiences serious constraints of budget, instructional time and or space, school organization, teacher qualifications, and individual student needs, the following pupil teacher ratio guidelines will apply in determining the number of regular classroom teacher positions. So it's inherently giving you that flexibility just in the wording. The numbers give us a better guideline so that when we're making projections, we have something a little more solid to work with.
Sounds like that word is giving me flexibility to go above that. Not stay below. So if we say a lower number, 20, just or whatever, you still have that flexibility from a budget standpoint because the teacher's contract stays 5. So if you rock against the wall, you can still hit that 25. Whereas for time's sake, moving forward with the policy of creating here, that's gonna be there. 5 years sometime. But, okay, all right. So let's vote. Let's sign this.
No, did we, for this one?
Do we have to approve that policy tonight? Could we wait until our next meeting and have you talk to the teachers or talk to the principals who will talk to their grade 3 through 6 teachers?
Penny, I want to be upfront, right? I haven't met a teacher and I've never been a principal. I've never been a superintendent. That would not say smaller class sizes are ideal. That's what everybody wants.
Okay,
More attention, more instructional time, more special, unique, genuine love, care that you can give to each child, the better. If anyone disagrees, let me know.
I think everybody on the board agrees that we need lower class sizes, right? Does anybody on the board agree that we would love to have lower class sizes? We would love to give more help to the teachers, more paras in every single room. Like, I think we all would, right? But again, it always comes back. I'm a realist and all about the numbers because we have to figure out the numbers, right? That's what it really comes down to. So when you're making policies like this, you have to keep all that in mind. Like I was in the classroom on Friday in all the schools. I would love to have more teachers there, have support and smaller class sizes, but where is it going to come from? That's what I want to know. Where's the money going to come from? If somebody can come up with the money, like we should be supporting them with 3 times what they have right now. Where's the money?
Does this policy have anything to do with money?
It does have to do with money because it has to do with class sizes. Class sizes have to do with teachers and their needs and their resources and what kids moving into the district. And so absolutely has to do with money. It has to do with budgets and how we assess classrooms based on what we can afford.
There's a motion on the table to put the policy on the website. Got it?
No.
That's, yes. Thanks.
Yes.
All right. Yes.
I'll vote yes.
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 You know that, Tony? All right, motion passes. Thank you. And the last.
There's two more. The next one is an update to the policy on student discipline. This one. It wasn't like major changes we were just adding a paragraph that asks that parents are provided with the information concerning the 211 hotline. And that's the only change there.
I believe Mary's talking about the last one. Looks like we skipped
Oh.
over student policy on, the policy on student discipline for the recess
Oh, sorry.
component. Yep. I'll go back to the other one.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
This one's about the attendance, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm out of order.
It's okay.
Can I move that one? Even on order?
Sure. Whatever you want.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Student attendance, excuse absences.
No, I need a second. I'll second. Any second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay, so sorry, now this one is the update to the student discipline policy. So we took out one section here and replaced it. This is having to do with loss of recess as disciplinary consequence. Yeah, it was just like a restatement in here.
Yeah, it's our current practice now.
Mhm.
Makes it our official policy.
I'll motion to approve. New discipline policy.
Second. Any second? Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, reports. I do not have any reports unless you do.
Yep. I have two quick reports. One is that I sent over since our last, since my sending out of the agenda last week, we've had an update on the addition of New Hartford Public Schools as an Ed Advanced member district. So I provided each one of you with that letter from Dr. Jeff Kitching, the CEO and director of Ed Advance. There's a brief summary piece there as well. We will post this online so folks have it. It's highlighted in a little bit of blue. It's section J, just making it official. A letter will be sent to the State Department of Education, and we'll await that final approval from the state's eyes as well. And last but not least, very important announcement, the Plourds have welcomed their sweet little baby Audrey to our New Hartford family. So we want to congratulate both Alex and Christian Plourd, two of our school psychologists. Congratulations to the both.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Sure. All right, and I will entertain a motion to enter executive session for the Board of Education evaluation of the superintendent
At 8:10.
at 8:10. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
How late?